next witness to testify is, only revealing that evidence leaders would be making an application to hear their testimony behind closed doors. Arun Singh reports.
Papers between an attorney representing News 24 and Daily Maverick and evidence leaders of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry need to be filed to Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga and his co-commissioners by 9 p.m. this evening. This morning, Charles du Plessis, representing the two media outlets, appeared before the commission indicating his intention to oppose a submission by evidence leaders to take the next witness's testimony in camera. EWN understands the next witness is either a member of Gauteng's counterintelligence operations or the KZN Political Killings Task Team. Madlanga Commission evidence leaders, advocates Matthew Chaskelson and Adila Asim, will have to respond by way of written affidavits to du Plessis' application. The Commission will resume tomorrow morning, where Madlanga is expected to provide a ruling on both submissions and determine whether he wants oral submissions made before the Commission thereafter. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
In the courts now, the high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak and 14 others has been postponed yet again due to the presiding judge not being available. Modak and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Western Cape High Court today after the matter had been postponed last week following a 6-month recess. The accused face 122 charges related to various crimes including murder, extortion, money laundering and fraud. Carlo Peterson has more.
Presiding Judge Robert Henney initially postponed the matter in March this year due to his involvement in a Supreme Court of Appeal matter. The prosecution team today told the court they had been informed Henney, who is presumed to be ill, was still not available. Two of the accused, Taufik Brown and Jacques Cronje, had previously handed the state affidavits to apply for bail. However, Cronje's bail application has now been revoked due to his involvement in another case related to possession of an illegal firearm. Defense attorney for both accused, Inga Cronje, says Brown's bail application is still valid and she's now awaiting feedback from the judge president. The matter will be back in court on the 3rd of November. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
To this now, an official probe into the death of South Africa's ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, is yet to be concluded. Mthethwa was found dead at a Paris hotel almost 2 weeks ago. The 58-year-old's body was discovered just a day after his wife reported him missing to local authorities. Mthethwa was laid to rest in KZN yesterday. Government officials have continued to now urge the public not to speculate about the circumstances surrounding his death. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Despite what's been reported about Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa's death, there still appears to be many questions about the moments before his passing. But Deputy Minister for International Relations, Elvin Portes, has called on the public to allow an investigation on the matter to run its course.
Everything else will be concluded year after.
Deputy President Paul Mashatile, who was recently in France for a working visit, says Mthethwa did not show any signs of being in distress.
In fact, a week before, he was in a cultural activity, dancing. So it came as a shock to us when we were told that he took his life.
The Department of International Relations and Cooperation says the outcomes of the report will be communicated in due course. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Kwambonambi, Northern KZN.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has received a standing ovation from Israeli lawmakers ahead of his address to Parliament. Trump is on a brief visit to Israel after brokering a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. The applause lasted several minutes as lawmakers clapped and cheered for Trump. The U.S. president was accompanied by his special envoy, his son-in-law, as well as his daughter. The last 20 living hostages held by Hamas in Gaza are now back in Israel after more than 2 years in captivity. In exchange for the hostages, Israel is releasing 250 Palestinian prisoners and more than 1,700 detainees. Gold is trading at $4,072.08 an ounce. The rand is at 17.31 to the dollar, 23.09 to the pound, 20.07 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.64 a barrel.
Leaving Edenville, heading towards Bedfordview, that's the R24 westbound. You can expect about a 30-minute delay between Edenville Road and the Kilulis interchange. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land not looking too bad. No serious accidents or major delays have been reported. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights though in Edenville at Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeck, as well as in Linksfield at Linksfield Road and the N3.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 28 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption has hit another snag, with members being asked to recuse themselves due to a conflict of interest.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Happy Monday. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I so enjoyed that bit of rain that came through. It was lovely. Then the sun came out. Then it was raining again. Then you're like, am I making stampa or am I making a salad? But I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Coming up in the show for today, Mondays are quite a busy one on the show. I want to kick off by asking all of you, which are those professions that make dating and being in a relationship difficult, and why is that the case? Maybe it's a profession that requires you to travel quite a bit, or maybe you've dated somebody who works in a line of work which is very confidential, but it makes you feel like, how I don't know anything about this person. Let me know and share your experiences. Movies and what to stream. We'll be joined today by Adelaide Moyeng, who is founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Please get your recommendations through any genre and any time frame as well. Our travel feature, we are chatting destination inspiration around the world in blue and green spaces. We continue as we picked up this conversation last week. Gabriela Brondani, or Gabby as we know her, will be joining us for that conversation, our travel correspondent. Then the second hour of the show, Parenting and Parents, we're talking about the default parent syndrome. The default parent syndrome. We'll get into it with writer and clinical psychologist Lesego Lekgotwane. And then we wrap up with the Naked Scientist. Dr. Chris Smith comes through and answers all of your science-related questions. So get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons. And the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Are there any professions that you feel are just very challenging when it comes to being in a relationship, whether you're the one in that profession or you are dating the person in that profession? And why is that the case? So I would imagine that there are certain specific jobs in my industry that make relationships challenging. Let me use the example of a DJ. I'm not talking radio DJ. I mean a DJ. The one that is playing 5-6 gigs every weekend, that is traveling. They are booked and busy. That person must be an actual challenge to be in a relationship with, because you barely get to spend time with that person. Now, if you're working a 9 to 5, but the person you're dating works all weekend, all hours of the night, it makes it challenging to see one another. And then if you're dating somebody that is part of some spy ntonton, the South African equivalent of the CIA or the FBI, I would imagine that there isn't much that they can share with you about their lives and their jobs. Tilty on my TikTok live says, I'm sure some guys have a hard time dating a bottle girl or a club host. So a bottle girl are the ladies in the club that come and when you buy certain drinks, they come and get brought to you. Flames, excitement, and then also the ones that host clubs are the ones that are there at the door dealing with the guest list, who's coming in. I think club hosting has probably evolved since my time, where you also have to be inside, possibly on the mic. I think also just dating public figures is probably annoying. I will be honest, content creators, somebody who needs to record all the time when they're with you. When the food arrives on the table, already, baby, please can you quickly take a photo of me while this poor man is starving because you need to show what you were eating. I'm pretty sure that dating a content creator can be a nightmare. Another person, Makoma, says dating an artisan as well. It comes with overtime, breakdowns, and all of that. Bongi Kosi Shibe says acting and having to convince your wife it was only for TV and nothing else. That is so funny. Yeah, if you're going to date an actress and that actress partner of yours has a romantic relationship in the show, and we've seen what happens in Hollywood where co-actors fall in love with each other because they end up spending that much time with each other. That also might be a challenging one. Apparently, and I could be wrong, dating accountants is a nightmare. I don't know why. Apparently, dating lawyers is a nightmare as well. Apparently. Yet to be confirmed. So I want to hear from all of you, which are those professions that you find are challenging for the people in them and them being in relationships for themselves and for their partners. Now, if we look at the stats that are available, unfortunately, we don't have anything in South Africa that speaks to the divorce rates and that speaks to the professions linked to certain divorce rates. But let me share with all of you. So these stats are from the U.S. Census Bureau American Community Survey, and they were able to determine which professions have the highest divorce rates. So let's work back from profession number 15 with the divorce rate of 1.56%. That is community and social services. Okay, can be a tricky job for very little pay. And I can only imagine the social workers that are listening have possibly felt that way. Healthcare practitioners, 1.61% divorce rate. You have, I think about my gynae, for example, who, when it was time for me to do an emergency C-section, he was speaking to the nurses at 1 a.m, at 2 a.m. All kinds of surgeons that deal specifically like with heart and very, very life-threatening. Their phones are never off. I can only imagine how difficult it is being in a relationship with those. Construction, 1.8%. Sales, 1.83%. Then you've got installation, maintenance, and repair, 1.85%. And then 10 more. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we look at all of these different professions and share with us which are the ones that you say, Relebogile, never date in this profession. Don't do it. Don't do it. And tell me why. 15 after 1 o'clock.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
What did you make then of the explanation that the minister gave in Parliament? What interested me was how she, even before the portfolio committee, didn't mention the chief of staff as the chief of staff. She kept on referring to her as a personal assistant when she knew that she initially started as a personal assistant, but later on was promoted to be the chief of staff. Was that another clerical error?
Exactly, and that shocked me too, because that would seem to be a blatant instance of misleading Parliament. There's no two ways about it. What is going on in that ministry? It is one of the most critical government departments in South Africa. We deserve to know what the reason is for the administrative turmoil under Sisisi Tolache's watch.
We do indeed, Rebecca, and thanks to you for not letting the story go.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Breathe in, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. In, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. insurance out. Pineapple again and again. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Calling all wedding planners and venues, restaurants, conference centers, and hotels. Do you need tables and chairs? Home in One has it all. Do you need cutlery, crockery, table linen, and restaurant equipment? Home in One has it all. Do you need tents, gazebos, or umbrellas? Home in One has it all. Affordable prices, the latest trends, with 2 branches in Pretoria and Johannesburg. Shop online at homein1.co.za because we're your #1 choice. Home in One has it all.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
702 was in conversation with MTN on 702 Drive with John Perlman this Customer Service Week, discussing their mission to serve you better.
No, it's really trying to listen to what customers want.
Yes.
So we've taken the app and we've listened to customer feedback and we've moved some things around, put stuff that makes more sense to customers up front and on the screen. It's also now customizable, so you can move your tiles around the way you want it. And then, of course, new features, things like switching on, roaming on off is now on the home screen, things like getting your bill easily, all things that customer asked us for. Our authentication method is now facial biometrics, so that's also now in the app. So all these things help us to make the things that customers want rather than just the things we think are important to customers.
Visit mtn.co.za today for more. MTN, making every connection count on 702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
19 minutes after 1 o'clock, we are chatting about the professions that one is in that make it difficult to date or be in a relationship with, or you're the one who can say, I dated somebody in this profession. It was a hot mess. I saw somebody now just saying, I'm a chef on a cruise. It was a factor in the demise of our relationship. You're gone 6 months. You're home for 2. That's the nation_large. Another one says, Makwama says, don't date a minor. They work, listen, minor with an E. Like a a digging miner, not an underage person. Don't date a minor. They're working crazy shift, 5 days, day shift, 5 days, night shift, and 5 days off is how they work. I saw a case says lawyers lie to you in the relationship, thinking that you're the client that they're representing. Mavusi said, do not date police, iyo is what they say there. Your voice notes coming through on 072 702 1702.
E-hailing drivers. I'm an e-hailing driver. Every time when I go with someone out, I'm thinking about money. I'm thinking about my phone just starting now to get client, especially if it's a function. I'm always thinking about how I can try to make my target. So it's very difficult, man. I hardly go out. It's very challenging.
Hi, Relebogile. On the note of dating someone whose profession is horrid for you to actually be with that person, for me, it's the doctors. I was married to one, and there's the calls, and then the calls suddenly, no, that one is just tricky. Let's not get into the details, but medical professionals.
Good day, Relebogile. Anonymous here, I'm calling you from Egoroleni. I think the worst people to date would be the sex workers. Because, her job is to date people their whole day and to date them sexually. Yeah, that's my to send input. Never date a sex worker, because she's dating people every single hour or day. Bye.
She's not dating them. She's selling services. I mean, I can totally understand why it would not be the ideal choice. I mean, I've heard many sex workers that have shared that it's easier to date within the profession. And I'm speaking of sex workers that are like, you know, porn stars and OnlyFans stars abroad who say it's easier to just date within the industry because you all understand how it goes and what's what. On the WhatsApp line, Relebogile, dating a pilot, and they fly international flights, also dating a funeral parlor owner, no time. Only on Tuesdays you have time to see each other. The rest of the days they're preparing corpses. That person. I mean, that's an interesting choice. I also think dating a pilot is high risk. Not just the traveling, but I also think dating a pilot, it sounds very high risk. Relebogile, I would say dating a doctor. Unless I'm also a doctor, I'm not dating a doctor. I will never see him. That's from Mulalo in Midrand. Hi, Relebogile, it's KG here. I worked as an external auditor for about 6+ years. There was literally no time for anything else during the most part of the year. I feel like it has added 6 years to my age. The labor environment is highly unregulated with no unions allowed. It makes me wonder. Well, I think we know. Boregile, did I hear right? Busi here, you and your listeners make my day. Actually, Boregile is an old one. I got Boregile a few months ago, so you must catch up. I am a former diplomat, and at some stage we had the highest divorce rate in the world amid the fact that we get posted with our families. Personally, a DJ, sex worker, night duty workers are no-go areas for me. And that's what's being said on the WhatsApp line. If we are to go back to this list, so office and administrative support, which obviously covers a lot of roles. Those can be clerks, office administrators, and more, 1.86%. And this is on the US stats because we don't have stats of that nature yet. Building and grounds cleaning maintenance, 1.92%. Then as soon as you get to your personal care and services, 1.98%. So that's childcare, fitness, beauty, still not too bad. Transportation and material moving, 2.06% divorce rate. Then you go to protective services. So that's police, security guards, which can be stressful and dangerous, and that can add issues in the home, 2.15%. Extraction, so that's your oil and gas industry, people having those careers where you can spend long periods of time away from your spouse. Can also include mining, 2.47%. Food prep and service or serving. So the food industry, we know in our food feature, we chat about it often with the odd hours, the long hours, and also working nights and weekends, also possibly relying on tips, 2.49%. Healthcare support, you are looking at 2.65%. So those are your nursing, your nurses, and all the support system that sits in and around medicine where they don't usually practice normal hours, 2.65%. And the number one role, and this is according to the US stats, where the divorce rate is high, is actually the military at 3.09%, where they say position in the military can be stressful in general, and particularly so if someone is deployed and away from their spouse for long periods. I mean, the stories that you will hear for people in the military, and keep in mind, this is the US. I think our military workers are not quite as active as what the US ones would be. But when they get deployed, wherever it is that they get sent, it then becomes a challenge of, okay, is the family going with? Are they not going with? Sometimes it's not an option, but it comes with its many challenges. And I don't know. I'm like, somebody's saying Durko, I'm not sure. But I would imagine some of the other professions that have been mentioned With diplomats, when you do get a post abroad, your family goes with you. Your family definitely would be going with you, or that option is given to you. But I'm going to add entertainment and media to the list of high risk. If you just use Hollywood as an example, it's very rare that the relationship's lost, whether it's between Hollywood stars or not, even if it's between a star and a lay person. Can you imagine now this person that you are dating or married to goes and is in Australia for 8 months while you're shooting a role? You and your love interest co-star are together all the time. You are bound to become extremely close in that period. You are absolutely bound to become extremely close in that period. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile.
I mean, that's an interesting choice. I also think dating a pilot.
To date an actor.
Not just the traveling.
And you are seated there now. You are watching this movie or this sequel or series. And then there's a part where she's kissing somebody on screen, acting. Or there's a part where they are making love on screen. And you are seated there watching this thing. Soze, Relebogile, stay away.
Guys, having been there, I have to be honest, I don't think I've had to deal with those dynamics though. Even when my characters were kissing people at work, I didn't have to. Abel's laughing at me. I can promise you guys, it really is work. There's a bunch of people standing around you going, okay, and action. There's a bunch of people standing, watching, being like, can you tilt your head a bit more to the side? Can you, it's not as what you think it is, but I get you. I absolutely get you why some of these things are a problem. And Ta in Midrand says, never date a software developer or IT in general. We never have time. Which jobs have time? I feel like now we've named every profession. Which profession has time to be dating? Because I'd also say don't date a president. He's probably busy. When last did you hear Cyril's taking a day off? And I didn't say don't date a minister because they pop up as and when. I feel like ministers have time. From Jolo. Because you must also jola in your marriage. Karabo, on your side, the question was, you came into studio like, what? Which are the professions that make dating difficult? Because maybe it's like you're dating a DJ. You work 9 to 5 during the week. They are gigging six times over the weekend, so you're never going to see each other.
I think cops and nurses.
Yep.
Their shifts are weird. They work night shifts, 12 hours.
It's rough, eh?
I wouldn't be able to.
Okay, then I have Olom Kize who says, not sure if you've covered this, but dating an entrepreneur who has multiple businesses is also a challenge. Marriages are tested if you are. They are really tested if you are, is what they say. Guys, entrepreneur. Especially if you're dating an entrepreneur and they have to say, babes, sorry, I had to pay everybody. I can't pay myself.
Oh.
Yes. Running your own business, because it's not just about them being busy. It's about the inconsistent income.
Yes, we made money, but it's not enough for us. It's enough for the people I
Oh, no,
hired.
not just that. You can say, babe, let's celebrate. We had a good month. I made R500,000. And you say, yay. And he says, I'm reinvesting it back into the business. So, go buy own batch petrol to get to work.
You have to have an understanding partner.
Yeah, it's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption has hit another delay, with members being asked to recuse themselves due to a conflict of interest. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Arnser told the committee that the DA's Lisa Schikling and the MK Party's David Skosana both laid separate criminal complaints against Deputy Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibia, as well as Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. He says this poses a challenge for the committee in terms of fairness, since Sibia and Mchunu will be the next witnesses coming before the committee. Labour Minister Nomakosazana Meth says the adverse audit outcomes of her department is related to leadership instability both in the department and some of its entities. The department's finances regressed, receiving an qualified audit opinion for the 2024-2025 financial year. And in the courts, the high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak and 14 others has been postponed yet again due to the presiding judge not being available. Modak and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Western Cape High Court today after the matter was postponed last week following a 6-month recess. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading towards the Bedford View area, there's slow-moving traffic. R24 westbound, that's between Edenvale Road and the Giluli's interchange. Also, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is heading towards Midrand, leaving Alex on the N3 northbound between London Road and the Butlu interchange. Also, there's a faulty traffic lights. That's in the Edenvale area, Linksfield Road and the N3. Also, traffic lights not working in Rand Park Ridge at Bayers Nodia and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
The National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, is leaving her post in January, and the search is now on for her replacement. How many of the panelists have some kind of prosecutorial experience?
We don't need prosecutorial experience, Bongani. It's going to be a person that would operate without fear or favor, a person that is going to be independent, a person that is highly technical and highly competent. And that's what we are looking for.
The Justice Minister, Mamuluko Kubai.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Change is an unannounced visitor. It can derail you or delight you. It's pushy, inescapable, intriguing. Change is motivating. Change is action. Change has places for you to be. Change is opportunity. We always have our door open to it. For over 3 decades, we've been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
You might not always notice us, but your safety is our priority. From the moment you step out of your home, drop your child at school or arrive at work, when you trust someone to cut a new set of keys or attend a packed stadium event. From VIP protection to safeguarding goods and property, your security matters to us. Choose wisely. Choose right. Only use CIRA accredited security service providers. CIRA, safer homes, safer businesses, safer communities.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
The PIC is the continent's biggest investment fund. From what you know at this point, why has it decided to suspend its chief investment officer?
It is connected to IO Technologies. This was kind of alarming. The new board had only been sort of in office for a week, and they sat immediately and decided to suspend Rukotsa, which was surprising because, if anything, it was a governance breach, it seems.
Carol Payton, the editor-at-large at Fin24.
The Money Show.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025. The insights to guide you through Africa's financial landscapes are waiting for you. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. Movies.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for movies and what to stream. And we're joined today by founder of Movies and Stuff SA. Make sure you follow that account on the socials. Adelaide Moyeng, how are you doing? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. My sister, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
I'm good.
Let us jump into it.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I have to start with really bad news. I don't know if everybody found out about this
I
last night.
heard.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so unfortunately, Diane Keaton has passed away at the age of 79. This weekend, the news has dropped, and she's an amazing actress that I think 100% of the world has grown up on her work. Her life's work is so amazing. She's such a great actress. There's so many films as well that I watch yearly, repeat watch till this day. I think a lot of us would be familiar with a lot of her work. I would say definitely for me, First Wives Club is like what I watch on repeat all the time. Some people may also know her from Father of the Bride. Others may also know her from her most recent work, which is also on Netflix currently, The Book Club, The Next Chapter. Others may know her from Because I Said So. Others may know her from Something's Gotta Give.
Oh,
there's
something's
so
gotta
many.
give. Can I just share one of my favorite moments? So I think it was in Something's Gotta Give where she played alongside his name just went out my head. But
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yes. And
Yes,
that
yes.
scene, you know, where now her heart is broken. And you just see her crying all over the house, sleeping, waking up, crying everywhere. That for me, what an iconic performance. And I saw the news yesterday and I was just like, wow, what an iconic woman. So interesting fashion sense. And what a loss. What an absolute loss.
Yeah, and you could also just sense that she had this really good vibe about her, even on screen. Like, you know, some people, they have this vibrancy about them, even when they are playing a character that you can feel through the screen. And I just feel like she is that person that we think she is, even in real life. And there's so many lovely personal stories that people are sharing, even on social media, where they started out their careers with her and she gave them guidance and she mentored them. So what we think she is, you know, and was. And so, you know, I would think just keep watching her films so that you can always stay in our hearts and in the beautiful body of work that she's given us, like I said. And she always was a girl's girl. In all of her films, that's the one thing she always was, whether it was as an exec or whether it was her being a wife supporting her friends, her trying to find her way back, Something's Gotta Give. Like, there's so many things that she really did translate so well in her films. But, you know, RIP to her. Love her work. Make sure you guys watch her stuff on streaming sites as well. They're all there. Disney Plus also has Father of the Bride and Family Stone. So for those who want to give her a try, if you've never watched her, please, please, please go watch her things. And her films.
Oh man, what a queen. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've got the European Film Festival that's happening. Tell us about that.
So I was just thinking, you know, it is a new month, trying to make sure that people know what to go and watch. And this is something that is very unique that actually happens yearly. This is actually the 12th European Film Festival that is happening in South Africa. It happens every year, and it's happening currently. It started on the 9th of October. It's ongoing up until the 19th of October, and essentially they showcase European films, especially curated European films for you to watch from all over Europe, from Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, UK, France, you name it, is there. They are currently being screened in Joburg. It's being screened at New Metro, Hyde Park, and also at the Bioscope. And then in Cape Town, the films are being screened at the Labia. And for those that want to know what the schedule is like and all of the films that you also want to watch, you can go on the website, which is www.eurofilmfest.co.za, or on social media, you can just have a click, search for hashtag EUFF 2025. Some of the films that I'm not sure, I don't know if people will be familiar with, but of course it is very niche, very curated. If you also want to just try something new, if you're a film buff that, you know, wants to step outside of the norm, this is something I would definitely recommend. I do go when I can. Some of the films that people may be familiar with is The Faces from Belgium, The North, which is really, apparently it's actually one of the best like natural hiking type films. It's from the Netherlands. Unicorn, which is from the UK. L'Homme Krong, which is from France. So there's a lot of films that are there that, done really well as well all over the world in different film festivals. So it's definitely for serious film buffs or just people who want to try something new, watch a foreign film, expand your taste. Definitely something that I would recommend that you go and do. Like I said, from the 9th until the 19th of October, so you still have time. But if you see me, please make your way there. And yeah, just look for the scheduling and you'll see exactly what films are available and what times to go and screen.
Are the films dubbed or subtitled?
They are subtitled, right? So definitely, please be a reader. The ones that are obviously not dubbed are the ones that are English-speaking ones, which obviously would be like Unicorn, which is from the UK. That's definitely something that you wouldn't need subtitles for because it's in English. But all the other ones are dubbed because, they are done in the native language of the film. So obviously, your Italian films, French films, films from the Netherlands. So yeah, yes and no.
All right. What else can we look forward to?
Right. So I actually started this series on Disney Plus, and I think it's so cute and it's so funny and it's so nice. It's actually a small nod to Mrs. Doubtfire. So the series is called Chad Powers, and it's being led by Glenn Powell, who is so handsome, a feast for the eyes. You might know him from Hitman. You might know him from Top Gun Maverick. You probably also know him from Set It Up, which is also on Netflix at the moment. Really cute rom-com. Definitely go watch it if you like rom-coms. So Chad Powers is actually a TV series that is on Disney Plus at the moment. And it's about a quarterback who made the worst mistake ever because he's just so arrogant and so pompous. And he ends up losing his career. He ends up being like a washed out celebrity. But then he gets this brilliant idea because his dad is actually a makeup and prosthetic artist. And he thinks to himself, maybe I should Mrs. Doubtfire my career. So for those who are not familiar with Mrs. Doubtfire, it's an old film by Robin Williams where he decides to actually have makeup and prosthetics to go and be a nanny for his children because he's unable to see his kids. And he ends up forming a lovely bond with his kids in the process as well. But he also has to lie. So but it's a great film. Definitely watch that. But essentially, Chad Powers is like a Mrs. Doubtfire. So this quarterback then goes and auditions, or not auditions, but he goes for tryouts to be a quarterback for another team, but with prosthetics this time, and he changes his name to try and give his career a second chance. It's a really good comeback film, very wholesome, very funny too.
You mentioned Mrs. Doubtfire, so now the standard is high, ma'am. It is very, very high.
It is, but I think it's just such a brilliant take because no one's actually done something like this in a while, and like I said, it's like a little nod to be like, what would you do if you actually had a second chance in a different body or a different face? Would you make the same mistakes or would you not? And so I think it's teaching him as well what he needs to change as a person. So that's why I really like these types of shows or films that really let you introspect and see what can I do different so that I can change my life for the better.
Okay, I feel you. I am sold. Then we've got a nice Indian boy.
Oh, a nice Indian boy. Happy Pride Month to those who are part of the LGBT plus community. This is like a small nod that I would like to give to people. A Nice Indian Boy is such a lovely film. It's so quaint. It's so nuanced. I love it. It's about obviously a gay Indian boy who obviously everybody wants to get married, and that's a tradition in that culture. And so this film basically explores him meeting a white orphaned boy who actually grew up in an Indian family. And so he ends up dating him and they really like each other and they're about to get married. But now they have to try and navigate those cultural differences and those issues that they have as a family to basically tackle them getting prepared for this wedding. It is actually such a nice film. I'm going to watch it. I've watched the trailer. The trailer made my heart smile because it was just so sweet and it was also just tackling different things and also some of the reviews are amazing. On Rotten Tomato, it scored 93%, which is really good for like a small film. It came out this year, actually.
You know what this
in
sounds
April.
like, hey? It almost sounds
What
like
does it sound
Bend It Like Beckham. So
Yes.
you remember the character was an
I
Indian
loved it.
girl, but the mother thought
Yes.
that they were gay as a gay couple, but they just were playing she
Yes.
was playing soccer behind her mother's back. So it just made me think about that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's got that vibe as well, and it's always good to see films done in different ways, and you get an insight into different things, and also I think I like the fact that they're not shying away from the topic of him being a gay Indian boy. They're embracing it as well, which is such a beautiful thing to see, and so it's the fact that they're supporting him, but also still trying to find a way to navigate how they're going to go about it. And I mean, a wedding and whose partner is white but grew up Indian is also just such a interesting take.
Yeah.
It's starring Karan Sooni from Deadpool, some may know him from there, and Jonathan Grove, who actually does a lot of voice acting, so people may know him from Frozen, Invincible, and from a film perspective, they might know him from Knock on the Cabin. So I think it's just something that people should definitely look at. It's on Showmax. It's already there. You can watch it tonight if you would like. Very lovely, great, amazing reviews so far about that film.
Then we've got Smashing Machine.
Smashing Machine is a film by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is getting in his acting bag. The reviews for the film are a bit mixed up. So essentially, the film is called Smashing Machine, and it's actually about the legendary fighter Mark Carr, and he essentially was in the beginning phases of UFC, which is, for those who don't know, UFC is Ultimate Fighting Champion. It's sort of like a mixed martial arts sports where people fight each other as well in the ring, and it can get very violent. I do shoot some of those sometimes as well, but essentially this is about his personal story about how he pioneered UFC as well. He's a legend in that space, and it basically just shows you his personal struggles and how he was starting out in that sport. Imagine you're starting a brand new sport that nobody really knows about too much, and you're trying to pioneer it. You're going to have a lot of hurdles, a lot of personal struggles. Emily Blunt also plays his wife in the film as well. The trailer for me was really good. I really liked it. I haven't watched it yet. The reviews are mixed matched. It's doing really well commercially. So it's just something you need to just keep that in mind when you're going to watch it. I personally think it's going to do really well. It just needs a bit of time for people to absorb it because it is a unique story. It is Dwayne Johnson going for a very different type of approach in terms of acting and being so bare and raw and unfiltered, and you can see the struggles as well. And there's been also some controversy around his weight loss and him, either was it for the film or was it personal stuff. So I think we're actually getting him at a point where we've never seen him, where he's very vulnerable as well, even some of the interviews that he's done for the film. So definitely something you should look out for. It came out on the 3rd of October. It is in cinemas. You can go to your local cinema, support local cinemas, please. So far so good. The reviews are good so far. So definitely I think it's something that people should go and look out for if you're dealing with some personal hardships and you just want a story of triumph. I think definitely a film to watch.
All right, Adelaide Moyeng, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. Founder of Movies and Stuff SA, and some of you had already sent through a recommendation, which they have found it. A documentary to watch is BBC TB Joshua, and a must-see series to watch, The Corner, and a movie to watch, City of God. Thank you so much for that unsigned WhatsApp.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
42 bodies have been pulled from the wreckage of a bus crash on the N1 highway in Limpopo. The Road Traffic Management Corporation says the bus was traveling on a steep road when it overturned last night. The passengers were en route to Harare in Zimbabwe from the Eastern Cape.
49 people were taken to various hospitals in Louis Trichardt, Siloam and Elim. The exact cause of the crash has not been determined.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent.
What does extraordinary mean to you? Is it infinite scalability or knowing your critical data is safe? or choosing the best cloud for your business needs? Only Vodacom Business offers 5 cloud providers all under one roof. Search Vodacom Business Cloud. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Vodacom Business. Further together.
To celebrate 25 years of helping you live the Premier life, FNB Premier is giving you a chance to win a 14-day European tour experience and other cool monthly prizes. Open any FNB Premier account from September to 31 December 2025. Switch your salary, swipe or tap a minimum of 2,000 Rand per month for 3 months straight. Spend and win with FNB Premier. FNB, help changes everything. TCs and competition rules apply. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services and credit provider.
In a world shaped by those who build, disrupt, and reimagine, there comes a gathering not just of minds, but of futures. The South African Future Trust Summit, in partnership with Standard Bank, is where top entrepreneurs, innovators, and change makers converge. It's where the future of enterprise is redefined. On 5 and 6 November, you could be there. Stand a chance to win tickets to the South African Future Trust Summit on 702. WhatsApp the keyword SAFT with your name and ID number, telling us how you would benefit from attending the summit to 072-702-1702. Then catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa to find out if you're a winner. The South African Future Trust Summit, in partnership with Standard Bank. Your summit, your way, on 702. TCs and more on PrimeMediaPlus.com.
702.
Travel.
It is time for our travel feature. We're together with our travel correspondent, Gabby Brondani, talking around the world in blue and green spaces. Part 1 is available on PrimeMediaPlus.com or download the app. Gabby, happy Monday. How are you doing?
Hello, happy Monday. I'm very well, thanks. I'm very excited to chat about some destination inspiration for this week. I'm very good.
Please recap for us, what are green and blue spaces?
So blue and green spaces are basically places where nature and wellness intersect. So your blue zones are generally where there are oceans and bodies of water. Your green zones are your mountains and your green spaces around the world. And your blue zones are traditionally known as regions where the longest living, healthiest populations are found. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that today.
All right, so let's pick up on where we need to be going.
Yes, so I thought we'll start on some of the blue spaces around the world. Now, Sardinia in Italy, it's one of the most famous blue zones around the world. It's where coastal trails meet ancient villages and slow Mediterranean living. Sardinia, it's one of the largest Italian islands in the Mediterranean Sea. It's got about 2,000 kilometers of coastline, the most beautiful, beautiful beaches you will probably ever see. If you haven't Googled beaches in Sardinia, please do yourself a favor. There's also mountainous interior. There's so many hiking trails. And if you are planning to visit, you can hike along cliffs overlooking the beautiful sea. You can wander through olive groves. It's just a beautiful place where leisurely meals are also made with local produce and wine. With this space in particular, locals here, they really value simplicity, community, and connection. And that rhythm of life just encourages relaxation, mindfulness, and longevity. If anyone is planning to travel to Sardinia, one of the best times to travel is during April to June and September to October, which is generally the off-season. So it's not too hot, it's not too cold, but you're likely to still have a really amazing experience. And the temperatures are really, really nice.
All right, that sounds like a good option. What else is there?
Oh, okay. So now we're going to go all the way to the opposite side, Okinawa in Japan. Now, this is known as the land of immortals. And basically, Okinawa's beauty lies in its harmony. You've got your coral reefs, which fringe the coastline, while your subtropical forests and traditional gardens, they really provide a serene type of environment. The locals here embrace the concept of ikigai, which is a reason for being. It's really nurtured through purpose, through social bonds, and time spent outdoors. Also, beautiful sea place, beautiful beaches, incredible islands, which are also amazing for stargazing. There's actually in Okinawa a certified dark sky sanctuary, which is something really interesting. And 84 of the 88 observable constellations can actually be seen here if you are interested in that type of tourism, which is quite cool.
Okay, and where else can we check out?
Another very popular one on the blue zone side of things. Costa Rica's Nicoya Peninsula, another very popular blue zone. Greece's Ikaria Islands. New Zealand's South Island is another really interesting one. You've got glacial lakes, you've got vineyards, vast mountain landscapes, so many different places.
Please tell me about the power of green spaces.
Yes, so beyond these blue zones, green spaces also have their own restorative magic. So you've got places like the French Alps with your crisp air, your scenic trails. They just offer a kind of clarity and a kind of calm, but at the same time, this incredible sense of awe. I know when I traveled with Club Med to these snow resorts, it's one of the most awe-inspiring, incredible experiences I've ever experienced from a French Alps in winter perspective. Those outdoor spaces, which are so vast, they just invite a lot of reflection, a lot of mindfulness, and these environments they also remind us, just like what true wellness, it's not just about doing more, it's about slowing down and reconnecting with the natural world, which I think it's so easy to forget in our fast-paced day-to-day.
It also sounds like something you could be finding in your Balis.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Bali, very popular holiday destination among South Africans, an affordable option, an incredible space for green spaces, of course. You've got your jungles. You've also got the blue spaces in Bali with some of the most beautiful beaches, surfing if you enjoy that kind of thing, a lot of spaces with open air spaces with bodies of water to just slow down, reflect, and enjoy your green and blue spaces in one destination.
Please tell me, what is Global Wellness in Motion all about?
So basically, if travelers are seeking benefits with the comfort and connection of a wellness retreat, there are resorts around the world that offer experiences built around balance and renewal. So you've got your Club Med, La Plantation d'Albion Resort in Mauritius. It's also a perfect blend. Your blues and greens. You've got your ocean, which meets the lush tropical gardens. You've got yoga daily. You've got water sports. You've got mindful relaxation that just embraces the healing energy of nature. So yeah, also a very popular travel option.
Okay, and now just in terms of, if you were to summarize and say, guys, if I'm going to point you somewhere, these are the places you should be going abroad and maybe right here at home.
Oh, I'm going to start with right here at home. I think one of the most beautiful spaces in our country that I've experienced that combine green and blue spaces is the Eastern Cape. Your Coffee Bay, your Cinsa, some of the most beautiful coastlines and green and blue spaces I've personally experienced, of course, number one. Further abroad, Seychelles, also a beautiful option from a green and blue perspective. 5-hour direct flight from South Africa. You don't need visas. Very easy to get to. And yeah, we've touched on Bali, another great option, an affordable option. So yeah, we're really spoilt from the perspective of green and blue spaces within South Africa, but also abroad.
Gabby Brandani, where do we follow you on the socials?
I'm at Gabby Brandani across socials.
And that is Gabby with 2 B's. You can find her all over the socials and see where she has been and what info she is sharing.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
In the next hour of the show, Parenting and Parents, the default parent syndrome. Does this resonate with you? And your questions for Dr. Chris Smith, get them in early. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has started giving evidence at Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee on Police. The proceedings faced a slight delay this morning, with members being asked to recuse themselves due to a conflict of interest. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Arendse told the committee that the DA's Lisa Schikkeling and the MK Party's David Skosana had both laid separate criminal complaints against Sibiya and Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. He says this poses a challenge for the committee in terms of fairness. After that matter was resolved, Sibiya took to the hot seat, telling the committee he is participating under protest.
Chair, in response to my short meeting with my legal team, I'm advised that I will proceed. I'm proceeding, but I must note or indicate rather that I do so under protest, Chair, in case at the ultimate end, because I will be participating in a process that I believe could be tainted.
Let's stay in Parliament. Labour Minister Nkosazana Meth says the adverse audit outcome of her department is related to leadership instability both in the department and some of its entities. The department's finances regressed, receiving a qualified audit opinion for the 2024-2025 financial year. But Meth has told Parliament's Portfolio Committee today that her department continues to make strides in advancing an equitable, inclusive and resilient labour market. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
While Labour Minister Nkosazana Meth has praised the performance of the National Economic Development and Labour Council, NEDLAC, and the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, the CCMA, the same cannot be said of the Unemployment Insurance Fund and the Compensation Fund. While the UIF paid out over 18 billion rand in benefits over the past year, Meth says leadership instability continues to dog its effective operation.
We are trying to finalize the DC of the UIC, and also we are looking at how best we can stabilize that leadership.
Meth says in the department itself, a misunderstanding of a freeze on new hires has impacted governance and oversight.
It is with regret, Chair, to report that the Department of Employment and Labour's audit outcome has regressed to qualified audit opinion.
Director General Jackie Molasane says a war room has been established to improve the department's audit outcomes. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
In the courts now, the defence's first witness in the Senzo Meyiwa trial has taken to the witness stand in the Pretoria High Court. The matter resumed today after several postponements, with the defense promising to be ready this morning. 5 men are standing trial for the 2014 murder of Senzo Meyiwa at the Voslera's home of his then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo. Khomotso Modise has more.
It's been almost 3 months since the state wrapped up its case against the 5 accused in the Senzo Meyiwa trial, and the ball is now in the defence's court to call their witnesses. Accused number 1, Moses Biya, has taken the stand in his own defense as the first witness. His lawyer, Advocate Charles Mnisi, has started leading his evidence.
Then he repeated again the same question, that what is it that I know about the death of Senzo Meyiwa? Yes. I then replied by saying I don't know anything about the death of Senzo Meyiwa.
Meanwhile, the court has made an order compelling legal aid to cover accommodation and travel costs for all the defence's witnesses for the duration of their testimonies. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Let's stay in the courts. The high-profile trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak and 14 others has been postponed yet again due to the presiding judge not being available. Modak and his co-accused made a brief appearance in the Western Cape High Court today after the matter was postponed last week following a 6-month recess. The accused face 122 charges related to various crimes including murder, extortion, money laundering and fraud. Carlo Peterson has more.
Presiding Judge Robert Henny initially postponed the matter in March this year due to his involvement in a Supreme Court of Appeal matter. The prosecution team today told the court they had been informed Henny, who is presumed to be ill, was still not available. 2 of the accused, Taufik Brown and Jacques Cronje, had previously handed the state affidavits to apply for bail. However, Cronje's bail application has now been revoked due to his involvement in another case related to possession of an illegal firearm. Defense attorney for both accused, Inga Cronje, says Brown's bail application is still valid and she's now awaiting feedback from the judge president. The matter will be back in court on the 3rd of November. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
And in Madagascar, the office of President Andry Rajoelina has reported an attempt to seize power illegally and by force. The president has now condemned what he called an attempt to destabilize the country. He also called on all of the nation's key forces to unite in defending constitutional order. An army unit called CAPSAT has now claimed that it has taken over the leadership of the military command. This is the same unit that played a crucial role in the 2009 political crisis, which helped President Rajoelina rise to power. Madagascar was first hit by youth-led protests in September this year against water and power cuts, but they have now escalated to reflect wider dissatisfaction with government. Gold is trading at $4,072.09 an ounce. The rand is at 17.32 to the dollar, 23.09 to the pound, 20.07 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.64 a barrel.
Edenvale heading towards Bedford View. We still have slow-moving traffic. This is on the R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Giluli's interchange. Also traveling from Midrand heading towards Alex. There's still slow-moving traffic. This is on the N3 in both directions between London Road and the Butlu interchange. So avoid that route if you can and look out for those faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Ridge, Bayers, Nodia and the N1.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 28 and 31 degrees. The top story in EWN, Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has started giving evidence at Parliament's ad hoc committee on police.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. We're going to be jumping into our parenting and parents feature, talking about the default parent syndrome. What is it? What does it mean? And what do you do about it? Maybe you're not even aware that you are the default parent, or that you are not the default parent. What does that mean in terms of the implications of how you parent or co-parent together? 011-883-0702. Looking forward to hearing from you on that one. And then, of course, your questions for the Naked Scientist, all of your science-related questions, get them in. 011-883-0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Parenting and Parents
on 702.
Parenting and parent time. And we're talking the default parent syndrome. We're joined by right and clinical psychologist Lesego Lekgotwane for this conversation. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Lesego, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Relebogile. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Please, can you share with us, Lesego, what is a default parent?
So I would say the best way to think about it is from a systems perspective, right? I like to think of the parental roles as a system. And so this is a dynamic where within the system, you have one parent taking on more responsibility than the other. And so this is everything from childcare to household responsibilities, essentially who is the go-to parent in the house. And so this can be things that are physical, so that can be actually taking care of the child, things like bathing and feeding and sleep time routines. but it can also extend to the mental and the emotional load of taking care of a child. And so this can be things like having to plan, and schedule things for the child. Who's the one who calls the doctor when the child is sick? Who's the one who knows how to fill out the forms when you do go to the doctor? All those other things that might not be seen, but do take quite a bit of effort as it relates to taking care of the child. So yeah, more than anything, I'd say it's an imbalance in the family dynamic, in the parental system, where one parent is taking on more responsibility than the other.
I hope we can break down that concept of the responsibilities, because we are now in a time where we are able to really identify things, as you said, that previously there was not necessarily a monetary value attached to it. So you would know that it has value, because if that other parent was not there, the likelihood is you would be paying for that kind of care in the form of nannies and whatever else. But the one that's so difficult to quantify or even qualify its value is the one that comes to thinking, for example, the parent that becomes the one that needs to always remember what's happening at school, right. The one that always has to, book the doctor's appointment because they know who the doctor is. Can you maybe share what we've sort of seen over the past a few decades? Because I know when I was a kid, my poor dad, bless his heart and soul, just trusted my mom to know what is this kid like. He was the worker, and
right.
In that time it was I'm being the provider. Here's everything, and I'll deal with planning the holidays. Mom, you do the rest.
Right. I mean, I think over time you have seen a shift as it relates to the spaces that women and men are able to occupy in society. And so I think probably your parents, and I'd argue to an extent my parents as well, it was more common at the time, so to say, for women to be the ones who were doing majority of the caretaking. But as time has passed, women have been in spaces where they are sometimes taking on the same load, if not more, in workspaces, in societal spaces that men are taking. And sometimes you find that, mom is going out and she's going to work and she still has to come home. And like you said, the mental load of, I need to do this and that and the other, where in some instances it's okay for dad to come home after work and, he gets to go for a run or, take care of his mental health or, his social life or whatever that might look like. And so now I think more than norms or beyond norms, you're seeing it in the level of sacrifice that goes into parenting, where perhaps one parent is sacrificing more than the other. And they are then putting themselves on the back burner. And at the end of the day, obviously, it has a negative impact on the family structure as a whole.
Why is this concept a bad thing, if it is a bad thing?
I would say I'm hesitant to label things as good or bad. I would say it is problematic because it creates a dysfunctional household. I think that in my personal work with parents, in my capacity as a psychologist, what I've noticed is parents are able to show up for their kids as well as they are able to show up for themselves. And so we speak constantly about
please say that again. Please say that again. We need to
parents
plug it.
are able to show up for themselves, for their children, to the extent they're able to show up for themselves. And so it's the age-old concept of you can't pour from an empty cup. Or you can't pour from a cup that's half empty because you're taking out what you might actually need. And this might, in the long run, it impacts your mental health, it impacts your physical health, and then it leads to things like burnout, which then take forever to recover from. So ultimately, I'd say it's problematic because it doesn't honor the individual and the humanity of the individual within the family structure, but also it negatively impacts the family structure because then the different people in the system aren't healthy. And a healthy system does not make for healthy children. So, yeah.
Oh, the reason I was so yes, repeat it, because I think everybody regularly needs to be reminded. Especially when we, in conversation for another day is the concept of I just want my children to be happy. I just discovered that even that concept can be problematic because you might make a child feel like they shouldn't be anything else because your mom just wants you to be
Right.
happy. But when we come back to this part, is there any other load we need to be aware of that is invisible, that does, quite often form part of the default parent? And maybe that could be the load that is knowing the child is sick, you the one who automatically becomes the one that is up checking the temperature at night, or whatever the case may be. Because I think it's important that we name these things that sometimes maybe within partnerships or couples or co-parents, naming it sounds frivolous, but in the bigger picture, it is not.
Yeah. I think again, in my personal capacity with the work that I've done with families, you see that a lot of the time it's the physical things that are noticed. And it may seem like things are balanced because some physical responsibilities are split. But you might find the mental load and the emotional load is actually what takes a toll on the default parent. So, for example, it may be that let's just say mom is the default parent in this instance. Dad comes and says, "Okay, I'll feed the child today." But then dad then goes, "Okay, what do I feed the child? What time do I feed the child? What do we have in the house that I can feed the child with?" Already, you're placing a lot of load on the mom or on the other parent, as opposed to taking complete ownership of the task that you are taking on. And if it is that needs to be split, that can be split to say, okay, you're responsible for the planning and I'm responsible for the feeding. But if you say I'm going to be responsible for the feeding, then be responsible for the feeding as a whole.
And that
The
means
moment you need,
that means you must think about what to feed, and you must prepare
Yes.
it. And so you must take on the whole job, not like I said, I'll
Right.
feed the child. Where's the food? What should I be doing? What should I be preparing? What does the kid like?
Definitely.
So what happens in situations when a listener could be listening saying it's so good and well that the default parent is the one that is the primary caregiver because I am co-parenting, but the mother of my child or father of my child is the one that lives with the child predominantly. How can I be more of a support to this picture? Because maybe that parent's like, I also want to be more involved, but I only see my child on weekends. What can I do? Is there a way that maybe I can be included in plannings of things, even though I'm absent from the physical picture during the week?
I think that the key to instances like that would be honest communication. So I think if you are the parent who is the primary caregiver and you are the one who lives with the child, I think you may need to sit with yourself and be honest about, what it is that you can manage and what it is that you can't manage, and have an honest conversation with the co-parent or with the other parent in the house if it is that instance of what your needs are. But first you have to get honest about your needs with yourself, and then with the other parent. And I think being open to, a lot of the time we want things to be perfect from get-go, but I think being open to messy progress as opposed to things being perfect from get-go. So I would say constant honest communication, but also renegotiation and recommunication to say, okay, we tried this and it's not working. Is there something else that we can try? So if it is that perhaps you can't directly be involved in taking care of the child, is there a way that you can lessen something in the household that the other parent may be taking care of? So can you maybe bring in, someone who takes care of the cleaning? So default parent has time to do something else in the house, or is there a way that you can offer support to the parents themselves that frees them up then to be able to take care of the child in ways that you might not be able to in your absence?
You just made me think of something, that if we look at this invisible labor, the concept of a default parent, do you think that all these things we've just touched on are taken into consideration when it comes to maintenance? Because by virtue of the child living with you as the primary caregiver, and I'm being very careful to separate primary caregiver from default parent, because we are trying to clearly explain what a default parent is. It can also happen while you're living under the same roof and married.
Yes.
But in cases where now parents are separated and they're trying to figure out what is the figure, and we know separately that the courts obviously look at a number of factors. But do you think the invisible
Yes.
labor is counted in what we're talking about? Because I'll give a simple example of there was a woman on TikTok complaining that when she dropped her child off by the dad was like, where the diapers, where's this, blah, blah, blah. And it became a whole thing of like, but if we're splitting custody, you should have your own everything. So when we
Right.
now talk about the concept of the parent that always must do the thinking, but you're in separate homes, are you seeing it bleed? We're into separate homes where now this one has been used to doing everything. Now this one, it's their first time in shared custody, having to learn to be the default parent when the child is there.
Yeah. I mean, I think you do see that, and I don't think it's taken into account, and I think that perhaps that also speaks to, our systems and how our systems maybe are not looking at the picture holistically. But I think it also speaks to competence as a parent. And I think if you are the parent who the child is being dropped off at, you don't get to excuse, your incompetence, so to say, by saying, no, but I'm not used to it. I think as a parent, you have to make it your responsibility and be intentional about taking care of your child. And so that means, again, going back to communication, perhaps saying, hey, every time I bring the child, you're asking me about this and that and the other. We need to set up a system where, if it means that if we're buying things for the month, we're buying diapers for my house and your house, let's do that at the beginning of the month. So we know that we both have what we need for the child. If we need to buy clothes, let's split them, whatever might work for the system. But I don't think that it's fair really to the other parent for the other parent to cop out by saying, no, but because you're used to taking care of the child, I'm incompetent. You have to take responsibility and learn. And again, it might be a bit clumsy at the beginning. It might be a bit messy. But the aim is, like I said, again, progress. So as long as you can make progress and communicate as much as is necessary for the good of the child and for the good of the system, the family system as a whole, I think that would be key.
We've got a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile 702. What a pertinent conversation you guys are having. I think something that also happens when you are the default parent is you become very comfortable. You don't want to relinquish the decision-making powers to the other parent. I mean, I was in a situation where I'm default parent 24/7, and this gent is saying he would love to parent over weekends. I'm like, but that's not when I need the break. The break is needed on a Tuesday when the little one is fussy and on the way to school and things like that. So very pertinent discussion around finding that sweet spot, and I think constantly being open to communicating. But some people really do use default parenting, the opposite of that, as a get out of jail free card. That means I don't need to do anything at all.
Yo, thank you so much for that voice note. And I think, Lesego, they touched on something, which is that need to also kind of control where, because the default parent is majority of the time the woman, just based on how society has evolved over the years. Do you think that part of it is mothers being unwilling to relinquish a bit of control, where maybe it feels like, I know how he likes his porridge, or I know how she likes her hair done. So you would rather do it yourself than deal with it not being done properly.
I mean, I think in that instance, then I don't think you'll ever find yourself in a situation where things are perfect. And I think in that instance, you have to get honest about what battles you're willing to fight, I would say. And so in that instance, if it is that you do need support, perhaps communicate like, hey, I might need you to take the child on a Tuesday and whatever the case may be. But if it is that you need to release a little bit of control, you're also giving the other parent a chance to learn. Yes, it might be that you're comfortable with it, but it's also good to let them also learn how to take care of the child. And, it might be the case that we're not all good at the same thing, and some of us might need a bit of practice with some things. But I wouldn't say to shut the idea down completely, but be open to the fact that things can get done differently and that your way is not always the only way. And ultimately, just are you willing to sustain, like the pace at which you're going as the default parent. Is it sustainable, or are you actually just setting yourself up for burnout? And are there
Ooh.
things that you're willing to let go of a little bit that might not have that big of an impact that can then prevent you from being burnt out or building resentment over the other parent over time? So I would say you might have to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable with some things to protect your health and the system's health in the long run.
I feel like you said in a very professional, nice way, pick a struggle. In essence, pick a struggle that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Unfortunately, it's not ideal, but sometimes you really, truly just have to pick your struggle and you choose your goal.
Yes.
Whatever you go, you
choose
your
goal. I love that.
You know? Be very careful about it. Don't pick up things that you don't have to carry.
Yes. There's a message from Kevin, who is a family attorney, who says, just bear in mind that the financial needs of the child don't necessarily get split equally. If dad earns a lot more than mom, then he must contribute more, just in relation to what we were discussing about what is taken into consideration if it is a maintenance issue. If now there's somebody listening that resonates with this concept of default parent, and they are the ones who are realizing, oh my gosh, I never have to think about these things because they magically appear to be done. How does a person memorize a shoe size, a color, the teacher's names, what the favorite food is of the week, because children grow up and evolve and change, but they want to do more. What advice would you give to that parent and to the parent who recognizes, oh my gosh, I am the default parent, but maybe I am a part of enabling this situation? What advice would you share with them?
I think for the parent who maybe does not know as much as they should or wants to get more involved, I'd say they'd have to get intentional about being involved. I think sometimes, people can try be a bit passive and just hope that things do pan out. But with children and with families, you have to be really intentional. And so if it means typing out a list and printing it out and having it in your home office or wherever on your phone of your child's name and their date of birth and what medications they're on and whatnot, then if you want to be present, you're going to have to prioritize those things. If it means having it as a document on your phone, have it as a document on your phone. Speak to your child as well. Ask your child what they like. You don't always have to just default to the default parent. You can sit with your child and find out what they like and what they enjoy, and be intentional about getting to know your child outside of just responsibility, but from a bonding perspective as well, because children can also sense. I think children are way more intelligent emotionally and intellectually than we give them credit for. And so you also want to make sure that beyond the parenting roles, you are actually bonding with your child. And I think as the default parent, I would say it's important to check in with yourself and get clear about what it is that you are actually struggling with. So the voice note that was sent earlier on, she mentioned that it might not be that she needs help on a weekend, she might need help on a weekday.
Yes.
And so you get clear about the fact that, okay, the load, I feel it the most when it's during the week, and we need to find a way for me to get help during the week. If it is the mental load of planning, okay, I need you to help me plan. If you're doing this week, I'm doing next week. However you figure it out. But I think in the long run, as children grow, that also takes on different forms. And so again, being open to change and being adaptable. I like to think of it as like your phone and software updates, right? You have your phone, it's a set sort of system, but now and then you need to update your software so that it matches, your needs. There may be bugs here, there may be things that don't quite work, but that doesn't mean you leave it as it is. You can update the software. And so update it as often as you need to, and be open to being adaptable and to change, and to the fact that it'll probably be uncomfortable until it gets comfortable. And then when things change, it's going to be uncomfortable again. And you're going to have to consistently, work towards whatever works in that season for you as a family system.
I'm going to just read these 2 WhatsApp messages as we wrap up. Anonymous says, the catch-22 is that sometimes marriages don't work due to lack of communication. However, when you divorce, the communication has to be even more clear. Disaster waiting to happen, Anonymous says. Teddy says, good afternoon. We have 3 kids, and I look back that as a father that I had to be the default parent while we were both working, and I'm burnt out because I've never missed a single game, lunch boxes, almost everything, because she simply does not bring or brought anything that we divorced, and all the kids decided to even stay with me, not even seeing her maybe once a month. It's too much still. The ages are 27, 19, and 12. I'm now parenting the last 2. Thank you so much for sharing, Teddy. It's also great to hear from men that find themselves in these positions. They are rare, but they are there. They are also women who refuse to come to the party. But Lesego, thank you so much for chatting to us, and let's hope we've inspired some kind of change in our listeners. It's just after 2:30. Ooh, I just took us an hour back. Just after 2:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia says he is testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption under protest. Earlier today, Sibia raised concerns over what he calls a conflict of interest for some members on the committee. He says MPs like the MK Party's David Skosana laid a criminal complaint against him as well as against Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. At the same time, the Madlanga Commission evidence leaders are requesting that in-camera hearings take place for the rest of the week. In an application, they argue that a temporary closed session will allow the Commission to receive vital evidence without jeopardizing parallel criminal proceedings. The evidence leaders allude to the next witness as someone who formed part of the Gauteng Counterintelligence Operations team. And in Madagascar, the office of President Andry Rajoelina has reported an attempt to seize power illegally and by force. The president has now condemned what he called an attempt to destabilize the country. He also called on all of the nation's key forces to unite in defending constitutional order. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, if you're traveling through Alex Calvin area, there's roadwork slowing down traffic N3 in both directions between London Road and the Butlu interchange. Also heading into Bedfordview, we still have bumper-to-bumper traffic N3 southbound between the Kilulis interchange and Van Buren. Also coming from Edenvale heading into Bedfordview, expect some delays. R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Kilulis interchange. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Rand Park Bridge at Bayers Nordia and the N1, as well as in Linksfield at the Linksfield Road and the N3. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Are you ready to be inspired and grow your business? The South African Future Trust Summits, in partnership with Standard Bank and 702, returns to the Sandton Convention Centre on 5 and 6 November. Gain insights from international and local speakers. Connect with entrepreneurs and investors, and come and pitch your business idea or come and buy a business in a box. Tickets are limited and selling fast. Grab yours now at summit.southafricanfuturetrust.org.
Phishing, quishing, smishing, so many ishings. Aibo, scammers are doing the most these days. From dodgy SMSs to fake QR codes, hacked WhatsApps and calls asking for your PIN. If it ends in ishing, stay alert. It's probably ishing your money. Scams can happen anywhere. And if unsure, contact ABSA on 0860 557 557. Protect your money. Protect your story. ABSA. Your story matters. An authorized financial services provider.
Introducing South Africa's most affordable way to get hearing aids. At Specsavers Audiology, you can now get a pair of hearing aids from as little as 599 Rand per month. Hearing clearly shouldn't be a luxury. Enjoy life's moments from 599 Rand per month. Test your hearing today and join the conversation with Specsavers Audiology. T's and C's apply.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, happy Monday. Are you well?
Yes, well, thanks. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much. Which are those professions that make dating or being in a relationship difficult?
Yeah, I was listening to that. I thought it was incredibly interesting. And there was nothing clear cut for me. I mean, I think having been a morning radio presenter, I think that's not easy for relationships. That was for 9 years. I would have thought that, although I'm sure psychologists have worked out their own way to deal with this thing, but, you know, if you think of somebody as a professional dealing with other people's difficulties as psychologists do for an entire day, I don't know what happens when they're prepared to engage with either partners or family or both, you know.
Because then you'll end up with the, don't psychoanalyze me!
So I wasn't thinking so much of that, but I just think you must be emotionally quite tired after a day of that intensity of engagement. I think being in relationships with radio presenters is fantastic. There are no problems. It's the best.
This message came when we were done from Shivas, who said, stay far away from an SPCA inspector.
From a what?
SPCA inspector. You will feel like the animals come first, as they're always out to save some critter. They receive random calls from people at odd hours about some dog inquiry. You will become insecure. I never thought about that one.
But it's what they do.
I mean, this is just it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. But I thought, how interesting are some of these professions and the issues that they deal with? What's coming up on your show today?
Coming up on the show today, the Ad Hoc Parliamentary Committee is talking to General Shadrach Sabir. That's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Babalo and Denze keeping an eye on that. He'll give us a wrap on much of the day's proceedings at about 5:15. We're going to focus on Fort Hare University. Terrible problems there on the campus. Student protest leading to the burning of buildings and damage estimated at 500 million rand. But Estelle Ellis, journalist, has been talking to the Chancellor, Professor Sakela Buhlungu, and he's had some quite alarming things to say about who he believes might be behind the arson, or certainly complicit in it and involved with it. South Africa's life expectancy used to be low, Relebogile, because of HIV/AIDS. We got that under control, but it's going down again because of non-communicable diseases like diabetes, for example. We'll find out some more details about that at 4:10. And then that terrible bus accident up in Makado in Limpopo province, 42 people killed. Want to better understand, though, how the safety of buses that come into South Africa from outside South Africa is regulated. What are the cross-border systems for ensuring driver safety, first of all, and roadworthiness as a second consideration? So all that and more on 702 Drive.
702 Drive, coming up with John Perlman from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
Time for The Naked Scientist at 22 minutes to 3 o'clock. All of your science-related questions for Dr. Chris Smith. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 0727021702. Doctor, I'm going to jump straight into it because the questions started coming in early. John from Mufokeng. Hi, John. Hi, John. All right, we don't have John. Let's move on to Andrew from Hammanskraal. Hi, Andrew.
Dr. Chris, when the sun comes to the end of its life, it's going to be the red giant having swallowed the 4 inner planets. So what's going to happen to the 4 outer planets, say from Jupiter to Neptune?
Hi, Andrew. What Andrew is referring to here is that as our sun ages, it's about 4 or 5 billion years old at the moment, and as it ages, it will grow. And the reason for this is it will slowly get hotter, and the fusion process will start to puff up the sun, and it will get bigger and bigger until it goes so big, it's a red giant, and it will go to the outer orbit of Mars. And so all of the inner worlds, Mercury and Venus, us and Mars, will be consumed, will be eaten by this bloated sun. And then it will blast itself apart or fall apart, eject a lot of its outer material, and it will shrink down to a stellar cinder called a white dwarf, which is much, much smaller. It's sort of basically about Earth-sized, but with the same mass of a star. So it's very, very hot, but very, very small. But it will still have the outer planets there. They won't have disappeared completely because there'll still be material, there'll still be mass to hold on to them. But their orbits may change, I would say, because we're likely to see some redistribution of mass. But it's a very good question. I don't know if the heat will be sufficient that gas giants like Jupiter will have their atmosphere stripped away from them because of the heat, or whether they will be able to, because Jupiter's so massive, you could fit the Earth inside it 1,000 times over, whether it will have enough gravity to hang on to most of its gas. I'm going to take this as an extra bit of homework this week, because I think it's a really excellent question in terms of what will be the fate of the gas giants when a star becomes, after it's been a red giant, a white dwarf in the aftermath, because it's a really interesting question. I would say they'll still be there. I suspect there'll be some redistribution because of the gravity changing around a bit, but whether or not the heat when the red giant phase was going on will do something to them, I don't know, or whether they'll just stay as hot Jupiters. I'm not sure. I think it's a really interesting question. Can I watch this space, excuse the pun, and come back to you with a bit more information next week?
I see what you did there. I see you. All right, we go back to John. John, hi.
Hi, how are you, Peter?
Good, thanks, and you?
Okay. Peter, can I just ask the naked scientist doctor? I've got the problem of the skin that peels off around the mouth, around the lips of my mouth.
So the skin around your lips is peeling off? The one on your lips or around your lips?
From the nostrils. On the nostrils, yes, it peels off down to the around the mouth. Around the mouth. And then, now it has created the pinkness. Each time I go to the street, people look at mine. I tried so many products from the pharmacy. They do not help me. They say maybe I've got skin virus. I don't know. What's the problem?
Sure. All right, John, it's going to be difficult, obviously. Doctor can't prescribe over the phone, but he can give some examples of what it could be. Doctor?
Hi, John. Sorry to hear about your predicament. Now, I can't do on-air diagnosis, but it does sound pretty nasty. And it sounds like you need a proper medical examination. Someone needs to look at this, because a very common reason why people get peely skin is because you get an infection. And it's probably a bacterial infection, and it's probably something like Staphylococcus aureus, which is a common skin bug. But once the skin gets broken down, the bacteria get in, and they then irritate the skin more, which makes it both itchy and sore, which means you lick it and scratch it more, which damages it more, which means the bacteria get in more, and it's an itch-scratch vicious cycle. It may be that a simple course of topical antibiotics is going to clear this up, but without someone looking at it and knowing that we're not missing something important, because there are other things that can cause lesions like this, it's very important they get excluded. There's a range of different things that can cause it, and you need someone to look at it to tell which of those they are. But if it is something simple, which it probably is, the majority of the time it is, then it will resolve with a simple course of treatment. But it really does need a proper medical appraisal rather than someone just speculating over the radio. So I would urge you, if this has been going on for a while, it's not a new thing or it's a recurrent thing, I would get someone to look at it. I hope it's something really, really simple, which they can give you a really cheap and really effective treatment for. If it's something like a bacterial skin infection, a topical antibiotic cream will clear this up in a week or so. And so definitely worth considering that.
Thank you so much, John, for your question. I really, really hope you get sorted there. There's a question on mammograms. I don't know any other scans or sonars that are processed by being squeezed like pancakes. Is there no other option, or are there no new inventions, Doctor?
Right. What's being referred to here is when women attend for mammography, which is imaging the breasts, which we do to look for breast cancer. One of the ways this is done is to sandwich the breast tissue between two plates. They're effectively imaging plates to smear out the breast tissue, because you can't just take a picture of someone standing in front of you, because if you can imagine, the breasts are a certain shape and size, and therefore when you're trying to shine the beam through them, you've got some areas which are going to be more dense than others. And since we're trying to see areas of altered density, which is what cancerous cells could be, then it might be confusing or misleading. So the radiographer will smear the tissue out as best they can to pancake your breast tissue out effectively in order to try to get as homogeneous a beam density as the x-rays go through as possible. Not always perfect, certainly not comfortable, but certainly can be life-saving if it finds something. If they do see something, and that's the best screening tool, mammography via this route, the next step would be that they can ultrasound the area to see if there's anything that looks amiss. Then they can maybe at that point take a biopsy sample, and at that point they can then escalate the treatment or reassure the person accordingly. But this remains the best way, the best screening tool to rapidly and quickly spot areas of mischief so we can then look further.
And it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I really would encourage all of you ladies. The mammogram, my mom complains about it often. It's once a year. Am I correct, doctor? It's once a year, depending on the age?
It depends. Different countries have
Yes.
different screening regimes, and also different patients with higher risk profiles might be called in more often, some people less often. But there's a risk window. Once you go over a certain age and under a certain age, that's when most breast cancers are most commonly diagnosed. So that's when the screening peaks between, in some countries it starts at 50 and runs through until 70 something, and in those people they get screened and there will be a screening frequency. But if you have particular risk factors, you might be examined a bit more often.
And also, gents, you can also get breast cancer. So let's just keep that in mind. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we continue. 072 702 and 702, or give us a call, 011 883 0702 for all your science-related questions.
702. Serving the 702 family in 702 land, including those of you in Melville. Melville is a vibrant and bohemian suburb near Wits and UJ. The geology of the nearby Melville Koppies goes back 3 billion years. Stone Age tools have been found on the Koppies, and several iron smelting furnaces dating back to the Iron Age have been excavated and preserved in the Melville Koppies Nature Reserve. 702. Let's walk the talk across 702 land, including the trendy neighborhood of Melville.
Here at Betway, we're finding every way possible to make sure you can win your next sports bet. With our new Bet Saver feature, you could get your stake back or more on bets with multiple losses. Stand to win, even when your bet misses. Bet Saver, exclusive to Betway. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 in brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Looking for real ways to live greener? Then don't miss Green Tip of the Week, your weekly dose of sustainable inspiration. From eco-entrepreneurs to climate champions, we sit down with the people making real change. Catch Green Tip of the Week every Tuesday on Afternoon Drive with John Perlman from 3 to 6 p.m. Only on 702, proudly brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
11 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with the Naked Scientist, Dr. Chris Smith. For all of your science-related questions, 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 and 702. We've got Patrick in Germiston. Patrick, go ahead.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
How does Castleman's disease work?
Castleman's disease. Ooh.
Yeah.
Hi, Patrick. Just before we come to that, Lebo, breaking news. I have, while we were listening to the other words going on just now, I was doing a little bit of poking around to answer this intriguing question that, was it Andrew sent in saying, what will happen to gas giants like Jupiter when our sun dies? Well, interestingly, 4 years ago, astronomers published a paper in the journal Nature where they'd been poking around in the Milky Way, our galaxy, and they found a Jupiter-sized planet orbiting a white dwarf. That's a stellar cinder, a bit like what will happen to our own sun in about 4 billion years. And they say this provides clues as to what will happen in our solar system when our sun eventually dies. An international team of astronomers observed the phenomenon, which forms when a star runs out of its fuel to burn and it dies. The distant planet was a gas giant like Jupiter. It was 1.4 times the size of Jupiter, so it's very similar to our own Jupiter. And it was, in this system, they say, able to survive the death of its host star. The scientists say the discovery is in keeping with previous calculations that more than half of white dwarf stars will have similar giant planets orbiting them. So in other words, this is a sort of similar to what we have across the Milky Way, but also in our system. Therefore, we can read into what's happened there as a good proxy for what will happen in our system. The study's first author, Joshua Blackman, who's at the University of Tasmania, said, "We predict this planet has a distance from the white dwarf," that's what the star has become, "of 2.5 to 6 times the distance of the Earth to the Sun. That is similar as for Jupiter." The discovery sheds light on what will happen when our sun runs out of fuel. This is the first time we found a system that resembles what we expect to happen to our solar system in 5 or 6 billion years' time. So, in other words, the big planets like Jupiter can survive the fact that the star will puff up into a red giant first. It may well, as other astronomers, and I've been doing a bit more reading, have speculated, will blow off some of the atmosphere of the Jupiter. Also, because there's less gravity of the white dwarf in the aftermath of all this, then Jupiter will be less tightly hung onto, and therefore other systems may dislodge it from its orbit or make it move, as I speculated. But it looks like they can survive, which was Andrew's question, the blowing up of the sun to become a red giant initially and then turning into a white dwarf. They will persist at least some of the time. So there's a paper in the journal Nature from 2021 of an observation that shows that probably is the case.
Look how quickly you got
Patrick's
that.
Question.
Yes, Patrick's question.
Is that not impressive? Are you impressed? Do I get a pay rise for that?
I'm very impressed. That was quick. That was very quick, Doctor.
Well, I wish I'd known that first time. I'm just very grateful to Andrew for asking a really good question that I hadn't ever thought of. So thank you for that. Castleman's disease is a disorder of the white blood cells, and it's a kind of cancer of white blood cells. I think that this is caused, or one consequence of HHV8, which is Kaposi's sarcoma. I think Kaposi's sarcoma can cause this, the HHV8 KSHV virus, I think. I don't know for sure, but it's basically a disorder or a cancer of white blood cells. I don't think there is a huge amount we can do for it, because by the time we diagnose it, we tend to find that it's already manifest. But again, let me look into that one more, because I'm not a hematology doctor. And if there is a hematology person listening to this who knows a bit more about Castleman's disease, please tell us. But I will do a bit more poking around for you and see what I can find out.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for that question. There's one. Okay. Could Dr. Smith please tell us what the progress with the big international experiment at CERN, the Hadron Collider, is? Any significant discoveries yet? That's from Tafara.
Hi, Tafara. What Tafara's referring to is the Large Hadron Collider, the most mispronounced name of a particle. And,
how do you pronounce it?
Well, no, people accidentally muddle up the word, so they get the R and the D in the wrong order, and then it comes out. And it's a bit like Bridget Jones when she doesn't want to say Fitz pervert. Sorry, so she says tits pervert. And she wants
yes,
to say
I remember.
It's the same sort of phenomenon, but with the word hadron. And I'll leave you to work that one out. But hadrons are the particles at the centres of our nuclei, and what they're doing in this accelerator, it is a big circle in a tunnel. It's about 27 kilometers long underneath the mountains in Geneva, and they accelerate using magnetic fields, protons, which are hadrons, to almost the speed of light. You can't get them to the speed of light because as you increase the speed at which something is moving, its mass increases because of E equals mc squared. So you would need an infinite amount of energy to make it go any faster. So we get it to fractions of a percent of the speed of light. And using magnetic fields, these beams of particles which are travelling in opposite directions around the ring are brought into a collision course with each other, and they slam into each other with enormous amounts of energy. And this energy then effectively rips holes in the fabric of space-time and makes it possible to see what is inside these particles, because we used to think that atoms were the smallest thing. Then we realized that in fact atoms have subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and in fact those subatomic particles are made up of even smaller particles, quarks, and it's by smashing them to pieces that we begin to see these particles emerge. We begin to see other new exotic particles get made, even transiently, or they break down into things that leave a signature, which we can then use theory to interpret, to work out what must be happening. And they've made a number of important discoveries at CERN, but one of them, which has got a Nobel Prize in recent years, was the discovery of the Higgs boson. And the Higgs boson, which is named after Peter Higgs, who was an Edinburgh physicist who died recently, actually, in the last year or so. He came up with the idea for this particle to explain why things have mass. What we mean by mass is when I put something on the scales here on Earth, then it registers a weight. It has a weight because gravity attracts it. What's the gravity attracting? The gravity is attracting mass. It's the fact that something can weigh something when it has a gravity acting on it. But we couldn't explain why that mass occurred based on our understanding of the particles and building blocks of the so-called standard model. And Peter Higgs's insight was to say, well, there must be this field pervading space-time, the universe, which is the Higgs field. And when matter interacts with that field conveys or confers mass on an object. And it is the force carriers, bosons, are the Higgs boson that actually makes that happen. And they were able to show that with very high certainty, there's always some uncertainty in physics, but with very high certainty that this was the case. And so it was those sorts of experiments that enabled us to do it.
Sure. Thank you so much for that question that came through. Peter in Kempton Park, very quickly, what's your question?
Yes, thank you very much. To the doctor, I just want to find out something with regard to my son, who's 8. He's very much active and enjoys football a lot. He doesn't want to stop, exercising and stuff like that. Sometimes I do worry. Is there such a thing as over-exercising, especially at that level, at 8 years old?
Is he tiring you out, Peter? He's exhausting you.
He's tiring me out.
I think you're the one that's tired, doctor.
I sense the same. Yeah, I think Peter's looking for an excuse to put his feet up and crack open a beer, isn't he? The answer is, Peter, that if you listen to your body, and most kids are pretty good at not overdoing it, because they tend to stop when they get really tired. And let's be honest, the world is suffering from a pandemic of apathy and inertia. And it's great to hear someone say that they love doing sports and physical things, and he's very unlikely to do himself any harm. He's going to do himself the power of good, and he may even, who knows, play for South Africa one day.
There you go, Peter. I hope you take the lesson with you. Also, maybe just join him. Thanks, Dr. Chris.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Year in, year out, we're fixing tires faster than a Formula One pit crew. My team is on top of things like tire whisperers. If an unforeseen accident were to happen in my workshop, at least I've got My Way business insurance to keep the wheels turning.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Tata Tiago, take me there. Where the reverse parking camera clicks your confidence into gear. Where rain-sensing wipers dance with every drop that falls. To the future directed by an audio-controlled steering. Whatever there is, wherever there is, let the all-new Tata Tiago take you there. From only 184,900. T's and C's apply. Tata.
He's the boss, the legend, the man whose music defined generations. Now, his story hits cinemas in Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, from 24 October. And 702 is giving you the chance to win big this week. We're celebrating the icon with 2 truths and a lie. 3 facts about Bruce. One's not quite true. WhatsApp the keyword Springsteen ZA to 0702 702 1702 and we could call you to play every day next week. Spot the line and win 2,000 Rand cash, exclusive pre-screening tickets and a shot at a collector's vinyl package every fan will envy. Tease season more on primemediaplus.com. Only on 702.
Thanks for joining us on 702 Afternoons. We're back tomorrow. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Lucky Montana sticks to his guns as his tax affairs are laid bare, and Shadrack Sibia says he is participating in the ad hoc inquiry under protest. Good afternoon, I'm former head of PRASA, Lucky Montana, insists he doesn't owe the South African Revenue Service a cent after it revealed he has a tax debt of 55 million rand. Montana held a media briefing in Ekurhuleni this afternoon to respond to a weekend briefing by SARS, where he took the extraordinary step of publicly disclosing his tax debt. The Revenue Service says it was forced into this move to preserve its integrity after Montana publicly accused it of fraud. Thabiso Koba reports.
Between 2009 and 2019, the SA Revenue Service says there was a number of undeclared income into Lucky Montana's bank accounts. This was at the time when he was heading the state-owned passenger rail agency. Montana says more than 80% of the quoted 55 million rand is inclusive of accumulative interest on penalties.
Even our Mashonisas in the streets, they don't charge those rates. Mashonisas who take bank cards from our parents, they don't charge the penalties that SARS imposes. It's so unreasonable. And I think this is insane. And I think the commissioner of SARS should be ashamed of himself that they're doing that to ordinary South Africans.
Montana says his capital tax burden without the penalties is around 8 million rand, which is also disputing. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Ekurhuleni.
Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia says he is testifying before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption under protest. Earlier today, Sibia raised concerns over what he calls a conflict of interest for some members of the committee. He says MPs like the MK Party's David Skosana laid a criminal complaint against him and Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Sibia is